I mean, which values prevail? The ones that we used to call middle class values when we were black folks and didn't, I mean, we're black, but we didn't understand that we might have been middle class having to do with values, but we certainly weren't middle class having to do with income.
Okay, gotcha. Yep.
But anyway, you got this group of people now who think totally different from this set of values over here that we call what the norm used to be, the thing that people want to get back to.
Okay.
So I'm wondering who's prevailing. Is it us? Is it this over here, the way it used to be, or is it this right now? Which set of values is the set of values that you want to go after?
Okay. That's pretty loaded. So that's some of what you said is related to the question we're talking about with schools, reclaiming that values and whose values do we as a group perhaps or as individuals want to orient ourselves with. How do we want to orient ourselves in the world, which goes to Michaela's question, that's your name, right? Of how to move about in everyday life. What values do we want to use to orient ourselves as we make decisions in everyday life? And what we do here is sometimes very technical, like when you're going to talk about what to do when you reach that point in the etymology where you can't move forward. And sometimes it is very technical. However, it is important to remember that what we do here also functions in everyday life, even when we're not have our nose in a book or something like that, because we can learn about values and then we are empowered to decide what values to choose for ourselves. Does that make sense?
Now, when I just said to her that if she learns what we're doing and does it, that it'll help her with doing the homework.
Do you want, so do you want to work on retention?
Yes.
Okay, good. All right, does anyone else have anything else that they are struggling with or that they want to work on today? No? Okay.
Just let me say this, because Mr. Black said that, and my children are the same, you know, like Michaela. I think they condition to think that they're not able to learn. You know,
so you said the children are conditioned to think that they're not able to learn.
I don't try.
So now, then I appreciate what your observation is. Why are the adults like this?
Me personally, because you asked me to learn that Desert Daughter poem. What's the name of it?
Desiderata.
And I'm not conditioned to think that I can't learn it, but it's I guess my problem is trying to find us.
I also asked you to learn For My People.
For My People. By
Now, why did I? By what?
Margaret Walker.
Margaret Walker Alexander.
Yes.
Dr. Margaret Walker Alexander.
Yes.
Now, why did I ask you to learn? After I asked you to learn Desiderata, then later I asked you to learn For My People.
Yes.
Now, why did I want you to learn For My People?
For My People, it's deep.
It really is.
But I think once you get the grasp of, like you said, breaking it down, it's going to help you in all type of ways.
And once you figure out, you go through the practice of For My People, then you'll be able to go back to Desiderata and easily learn it. And you'll be able to retain it.
Yeah.
Once you actually, matter of fact, would you do For My People?
I will help everyone in this class learn For My People right here, right now.
Okay.
We will...
In an hour.
In an hour, of course. In less than an hour. So we're going to put up For My People, ma'am. And we are going to...
Is that hooked into the screen?
Yes, it is. And we're going to learn.
Where's the markers?
So we'll learn For My People because you want to practice the technique. This is also going to help with. Should we do Desiderata? We'll do Desiderata first.
Okay, do Desiderata. That was the one that he mentioned.
Okay, we'll do Desiderata today. This will help us with road that you talked about. This also has to do with values, everyday life. We can think about how this might be related to some of the questions that Ms. Carolyn asked, as well as to the question about school. While that's being taken care of, let's just look up school in the dictionary. Teach me the etymology of it, please, as far back as you can go. If you could look up school, someone maybe look up disciple or pupil.
How you doing, brother?
All right.
Use your phone. Use your phone.
Use any phones, devices you may have. I need a few people on pupil and disciple. Yes. What do you have for me? Okay, hold that thought.
Oh, okay. Notice I said the word before I gave it.
Just you doing Desirado for my people.
What do you have for me? What are you looking at for me? Pupil, okay. Disciple, wonderful.
I have school.
Okay, wonderful. So let's hear from school first. What is the etymology of the word school and how far back can it go?
Middle English, skole,
Good.
from Old English, skol, from Latin, schola, from
Meaning,
Greek,
okay.
scoli, meaning
No, how spell Scully?
SCHOLE with the straight line across the top of it.
Okay, if the straight line is across the top of it, it's going to be an E then for the sound. No problem.
Meaning leisure, discussion, lecture. Then after it has school, and then PERH period. I'm not sure what that means. I don't know what that is.
P-E-R-H. Perhaps?
Okay. Akin to Greek eschain, ECHEIN, meaning to hold.
To hold.
Interesting.
Okay,
And then after that it says more as scheme.
Okay, but now I think that what's important,
Scheme.
did everyone here understand what it was in Latin? What it is in Latin? What the word is in Latin?
Gola.
Gola.
All right, and how do you actually say that word from the Latin in English?
Scholar.
Scholar.
You say scholar.
Okay, good.
So the word actually, what you call schools, had actually started with scholar, scholar. You follow me? Now, what did you say that word in its etymological sense, what did it once mean?
It goes, it says, after it said from Greek meaning to,
In Greek, it's going to come to the word leisure.
Right.
yeah.
Leisure.
Now, stop right there.
Okay.
That means that, what does that tell us about the word school? That originally it meant leisure. What might that tell us about the word school? Or the word scholar?
It wasn't
You're supposed to enjoy it?
Okay.
Maybe, yes.
it wasn't it wasn't a major requirement, just a leisure time.
No. I mean, it could mean that, but it doesn't.
Ongoing process.
No.
Continue.
I'm thinking that you should learn in a more relaxed environment.
Who's able to learn in a relaxed environment? What type of social conditions might they find themselves in?
If you are wealthy.
If you're wealthy, if you
So-
have resources,
The people with money.
Right.
which were called the leisure class,
That's right.
which means the word school tells us something about the type of people that school was for in this particular cultural context.
So
It was for people-
the Slave was not a scholar.
No, he was not.
And you understand what the exclave was, right?
The
A
enslaved.
slave. The enslaved person was not a scholar. They didn't have the time to practice thinking. They didn't have the money because you had to pay the rappers. And the rappers were the teachers.
So when we think about school,
Well, good.
if
Glad to see you.
it is something we are trying to reclaim, we need
Where you
to
going?
maybe think about, like, what does school, the way that we have it now, have to do with the amount of money a person may have? What type of institutions have been set up to educate us? What type of institutions have produced scholars?
Oh, which ones have produced scholars?
Yeah.
Real scholars? I mean,
Well, when you say real scholar, you're adding a qualifier there, which means maybe you mean something more specific. What do you mean when you say
well, when you
real
say
scholar?
scholar, you have a tendency to think about a person who's really learned, who really knows a lot.
True.
you're a scholar.
Well, according to
Yeah.
You're a student if you just go to school.
according to Kim, when the priest asked, could the boy be educated for, how much money would it cost? They told him the more you spend, the better the education was going to be.
Now, personally, I like to think about some ways that we can educate people that don't involve currency. That's just me personally.
That's because he's a socialist.
Other people may have other ideas. The point is, maybe we can try to bring this insight about this relationship historically that school has had with money, this marriage between education and money. Maybe we can let that inform the way that we think about questions like, how should we reclaim our schools? Does that make sense? Maybe we can consider that when we look at the question. As a, do we want to reclaim the types of schools that require people to have a lot of money? Do we want to get into the types of schools that have required people to have a lot of money? And how can we do that? What types of things can we learn in order to do that? One quick example, and then I'll get to you how. The elite Ivy League universities, prior to, I think it was about the 1950s or so, did not have college entrance exams. You just applied, you received the endorsement of some upstanding wealthy member of the community, you came from a certain school where they already knew you knew Latin and Greek, etc., based on the private school you had gone to before. Something happened, and now we have college entrance exams. What this means is that we have an opportunity to go to the types of schools that a few decades ago only people who were wealthy could go to, right? Only people who were wealthy could go to. But now we have these college entrance exams, and so.
But if you don't learn the Latin and Greek, you still won't do well on the college entrance.
When you say something happened, are you referring to Brown versus Board?
No, I mean, I'm not referring to a number of different things happening.
Brown versus the board really came after what it is that she is actually inferring about.
Yeah. So, but these are things we can think about and maybe talk about. So that was school. Disciple, pupil, anyone?
Yes, have we considered in our language and in our assumption of what we're trying to portray to each other, that it may not just be a matter of money, even though that's the key ingredient. Have we considered that time is money? And if you don't have time because you toting that barge, lifting that bell, you don't have time to think and ponder on what is truth and things like that. It doesn't matter what the truth is.
I think it just came up just before you walked in. What was the word you used? Exclave.
Yeah.
The slaves had to get it.
The enslaved people,
They couldn't.
So they weren't in a position to actually have the leisure to truly learn.
Right. And that same thing, my point in closing it, is we're at the same point. Things have not changed. Dr. Hayes is always why are people not learning, why they're not learning the presidents, and why they're not doing this and that. All that's good and we really need to do it. And I'm not trying to say we don't. You know, the people that can do it, I'm so happy for you. You know, I'm just elated for you. But if you're trying to keep the lights on, if you're trying to feed your children, you don't have time to do that.
To go back to what Mr. Vernessa said earlier, even if you are putting food on the table, but it's a struggle, but you are constantly involved in the machinations of mere surviving, right? You're just trying to make it, right?
Right.
It's hard, right? It's incredibly difficult, right?
And Michaela here and Chris, they go to school, but they have all of this homework that they have to do. So while
Which
they're
could
not
be
putting
enough.
food on the table, they're
Right.
trying to do this massive amounts of homework.
And so what we've uncovered here is that it's really hard, right? Like,
Could I just make one other little brief observation? It's not so much that it's hard in the sense of degree of difficulty, but it's hard because we're not able to pay attention.
right.
We are not able to dedicate our minds to study.
And so what we have to do then, point, acknowledge, and appreciate it, is really apply our wisdom and think about our daily life. We're all in different situations, and the best that we can do is try to stabilize ourselves out. Even if we don't have a lot of money, try to stabilize it out to the best of our ability and clear up some mental space to think about something other than survival. And what we have to do is to be aware of one another and to respect one another, and when we can, to help one another, to work together. To work together with, teaching the children, to work together with setting aside an hour to just do etymology charts, whatever. But it's incredibly difficult. And people like Frederick Douglass, for example, present a model for how to do this when you are under very dire straits. It has been done, it can be done, but a mental shift has to take place so that we can invest as much as we possibly can into learning and making ourselves better. And at the end of the day, just do your best, and your best will be enough. If you can't do it, help your children, and they'll do it.
Is it agreed then that the children that are able to pick this up and excel with it, they have a mindset for learning? When you look at each classroom, some people have an adaptation, just automatically, just get it, different subjects. Some people do well in math, some people do well in English, some people do well in art, some people do well in mechanics or bricklaying, and all these different facets in school. Very few people make an A in everything.
Yeah.
Just have a natural talent.
Right?
So, we don't need to overlook the fact that we all can't be scholars.
Absolutely. However, depending on what your definition of scholar is, we all are not going to necessarily be philosophers. We're all not going to be the next Nietzsche, or we're all not going to be the next anything. What we all can do is develop a baseline of competency, a baseline of information. And that's really what we're talking about. It may at times seem extremely advanced because we are not used to this, but I think one thing we want to get across is some things are really very basic, like knowing how to discover the etymology of a word, like knowing your prefixes and suffixes, like knowing how to memorize and rote.
But whoa. See, this is a funny thing now, because people will come to class, learn the basics of how to do it, and then they'll swear they always knew. So then we don't do what it is that we have to do in order to get to the point that I think you're referring to. Where they learned a strategy that will allow them to accomplish something. So they never learned the strategy, and going in, they never bother to do the work.
Sure.
And I think, just from observation, I think of Michaela or Chris, maybe they're not clearly understanding the fact that they're not being asked to learn the presidents for the sake of learning the presidents. But there is something that goes along with what you have to. Huh?
I think they understand. I mean, there's a reason. Michaela, why are you here? Why did you come here today?
Tell,
Okay,
tell her.
okay,
Tell her
that's
too.
fine, that's fine. Because your mom.
Bring it up a little bit where everybody can hear you. What'd you say?
Okay,
Your
parents
mom
say-
made you come up.
She didn't say my mom made me. She just said my
I know,
mom.
I know, but
That
I
was
know
one.
what she's
Okay.
talking about.
Do you happen to be listening? Have you by chance been listening to any of the conversation that we've been having up to this point? I know you're here, but have you been listening? Okay. Have you been involved? Have you been thinking about and processing what is going on in the classroom, the conversations we're having? Okay, good. Why? I presume your mother isn't like in your brain, right? Maybe she is. But. Why? Okay, so it was a choice, right?
Speak up, honey,
Okay.
so the camera can pick you up.
So why? Why have you chosen to be actively engaged?
Well, I'm here, so I might as well learn something.
Okay, good. Anything else?
When you like bring up controversial topics, then I start thinking about it, and then so then I start trying to see what's going on.
You see, there's an inborn desire, like to learn and understand things. The children are not just here, everything's going over their head. They're here. They're here, and they will learn the precedence. It may take some longer than others, but as long as they are here, that's the main thing.
That's
when they
right.
stop showing up, then we have a problem.
That's right.
If they are here and they're not even actively engaged. There were many a time in Black's class when I was not there. Because I was having my own stuff to deal with, like you said. I just didn't have the energy. I didn't have it in me to be there. But I was physically present and things seeped in.
But you were overwhelmed with the problems of the day, life's problems.
Sometimes.
Made your mind conscious of that.
Sometimes, yeah. And even when it was most difficult, there were some days that I was able to be there. It's not going to be like you can give 100% every single day. That's not what is required. Just do your best. When you're feeling overwhelmed, just do your best. If you can't memorize all the precedents because you're thinking about how your lights are about to get cut off, just memorize the first 2. Just memorize the first 3 when you're driving there trying to get them to give you a few extra days. Just do something. And if you do something every day,
That's right.
things will change. And you won't even be aware of what is happening. You don't necessarily know that you're improving. But one day someone will say, you're different. You're just so, I don't know, just different. You know things. You're more confident. You're more calm. You're more relaxed. You're wiser.
More handsome.
Pupil or disciple.
Disciple. Middle English disciple. Old English disciple. From Latin discipulus. And then it says pupil from desire to
It says what?
Pupil.
Point to the pupil. Point to the pupil. Okay, good. So now, do you know what that thing is that you just pointed to?
Yeah.
I know.
What is it? What is it?
It's a learner.
It's a learner, but how do you learn?
It interprets it for your
See,
brain.
when you touch something, you're learning. When you touch something, all right, yeah. So I'm in class. I'll call you when I get home. All right. So when you touch something, you're learning. But this touch is allowing you to observe something. Well, that pupil allows you to observe something. It is an observer. The observer who has the ability to place something into the position of observation is the one who can learn. You follow me?
Yeah.
So that's what that pupil is. Now, when you transfer that pupil based on understanding why they named it a pupil, the black thing in your eye, it is the pupil. Well, when you understand that, That's what the student is. It is the pupil. It is the same as the observer that is in your head relative to your brain. When we understand that being a pupil gives us a particular power, but we have to use our sensory perception. Here's the funny thing about that. In school, when you go to school, how many senses are you taught that you have?
They tell you 5.
And if they tell you 5 and you go through your life actually thinking that you have 5 senses, that's all you'll ever use. Is that how many you have? Explain to them how many they have. You don't know?
6 or 7.
What's 6?
Have
You have, I mean,
Hold
you
on,
have
hold
a
on.
bunch.
Come on, you're going too fast now. What's 6? When you say 6 or 7, what's 6?
6 would be at what we call the ESP.
Extrasensory perception. Extrasensory perception is going to lead us down a real dark path. We don't need to go there. All we need to deal with is what we were talking about. See that young man over there? No, he just needs to learn about his sensory perceptors. In school, they teach 5 senses. What are the 5 senses that they're
They
teaching
teach
about?
vision, you have sight,
Yes.
you have hearing,
Okay.
you have the tactile touch,
Okay.
you have
Taste.
taste, okay,
Good.
Well,
and smell, yeah.
Now, all of those, what are they? 9.
the 5 senses.
That we just named. What are those 5 senses?
Taste.
Those are your physical senses. That's the senses of the objective, the matter, the thing. Now, if you have 5 senses in the lower, because that's what that is, the lower. How many do you have in the west?
I've heard
5
you say this
senses.
before.
You heard me say it
I do
before.
retain.
Then what I need you to do is learn what it is I'm talking about. You
Okay,
have 5 senses in the upper.
Well, there's more than 5 physical senses as well. We
Because
can
you
talk
put
about that
5 together with 5, which is primary together with secondary, and then all of a sudden you get shades, and now your shades should be
too. Infinite.
infinite.
And
So that's how many senses you actually have. Your senses are infinite. And the only reason that you allow yourself to be limited is because you limit yourself. You were taught all of your life to limit yourself, and now that's what you do. But if we ever get busy and start actually educating ourselves about what we really are, then all of a sudden you will have access to a lot more senses than what you're utilizing. Go ahead.
okay, I have not forgot about your question about how to move forward when we reach a stopping point. We will get back to that. Yes.
You said we needed to develop a baseline or something.
A strategy.
baseline of just of strategies, methods, etc. Yes, and that is what we're going to transition
And the
to.
question for us when we started out came from Miss Pearl back there. Your question was, what was her question?
How can we reclaim our schools?
Isn't that the question?
You mean from Facebook?
Yes,
Yes.
that's the question. And immediately when I asked the question in the class, what did you say?
I said hour?
That's the first question. Hour. We have to qualify what we mean by hour. What was the next thing that was suggested, Ms. Bell? Never mind. What was the next
I
thing
said,
that was?
what is it worth?
No, I think the next thing that was suggested was reclaim.
Oh, yeah.
What are we trying to reclaim? First, has it ever been ours? If it has been, we need to identify when and what. Then when you say reclaim, what do we mean by reclaim? Whatever we're reclaiming, is it worth claiming?
And I really think we should think about Frederick Douglass and others who schooled themselves in such a way that it was.
So how did Frederick
Not
Douglass
so
teach himself the alphabet? No one taught him the alphabet now. How did he teach himself the alphabet?
He said he asked someone that.
No, he never asked anyone.
He watched
He watched what?
the people at the house where he worked, I think.
No. he worked primarily at that time on the dock, where the ships docked. And they would actually write alphabets on the dock, and he would watch what they were writing. And he had to figure out what was going on over a period of time. Based on, he had to keep his mouth shut because he couldn't allow anyone to know what it is that he was after. Because if they found out that he was after actually understanding what those letters were, what was going to happen to him?
They were going to kill him, probably.
They were going to beat him, kill him, do something to him. But he figured out how to do it anyway, and he taught himself. He taught himself. Well, how come our children now do not know how to teach themselves?
Because they use their learners on television all day.
Now you're just saying something.
No, that's serious business.
Okay, can we transition?
Okay, go ahead.
All right, we'll get back to etymology before the end of class, but let's learn and practice methods for just straight memory. Whatever you want to remember, whatever content you want to remember, you can learn to do so easily, quickly, and with retention.
McKenna, is that going to help you in school?
Yes.
Good, all right.
So
So that means you're going to pay attention then, right?
Yes.
I'm with you.
All right. So we're going to use the poem Desiderata. We're going to work off of Desiderata. There are a number of different, when you teach yourself how to remember a whole bunch of things using a memory device, it's called a mnemonic. There are a number of different memory devices. For example, you can make up a sentence, as in the case, my very educated mother just served us nectarines, or whatever it is now. You can make up a sentence. That's one way. Okay. You can create an image. You can make up a picture in your mind, which is what we do when we work with the clock. Do you guys remember the clock? With the 3, Earth is 36,000 miles away from the sun, and
No,
Venus
Mercury.
is 60, I mean,
is 36 miles.
Earth
Million
is
miles.
67.
Earth is 92 million miles. Venus is 67 million miles.
And
Mars is 141 million miles.
right.
Right.
So you can create a picture.
Right.
You can create a sentence. You can create a picture in the mind that holds the information. Or you can create an acronym like
Scuba.
like SCUBA. I don't know what SCUBA stands for. I forgot.
Self-contained underwater breathing apparatus.
You can make up an acronym, a word that you can say, and each letter in the word stands for something.
Homes.
Okay? Homes, that's a good one. Homes for the Great Lakes. So we're going now. I don't know Desiderata, so we're just all doing this together, okay? First, we'll do the first stanza. And I think let's go for, let's go for a sentence. We'll try to create a sentence to learn the first stanza, okay? So here's the first stanza. Or you can create an acronym. We'll see which one works. As I'm saying it, just try to think of maybe for an acronym, think of a few letters you could use.
Well, this one in particular,
It's good
when
for
you
acronym,
learned
right?
it in class, I can suggest to you how you learned that in class. And the thing that they had to do was see the first 2 words in that poem.
Oh yeah, we did.
What are
Right.
Go placidly.
Go placidly. Now, how many so-called black people know what placidly means? So that means that what we need to do is look that word up and teach ourselves that word. And if you look that word up and teach yourself about that word, what's going to happen is you're going to be able to pick up the next few words.
Yeah.
Because you're going to understand this better. And I think it says, amid the noise and haste.
Oh, so you're using like Is it juxtaposition?
You're using juxtapositions, and you're actually starting to understand how opposites work and how you unite opposites. Because when you perform the unity of opposites, now you can have power. That's why when you get in your car and start it up, it works. Because the positive and the negative are both hooked up. And it allows you to operate something. It allows you to ignite something. And inside of you, you have to ignite something. And if you can ignite, you can reach cognition.
Okay. So I'll continue reading while you look up placid. And we'll think about what mnemonics is. Go placidly amid the noise and haste, and remember what peace there may be in silence.
Undisturbed.
So you mean silence has got something to do with placidly?
Undisturbed.
And peace would have something to do with that. And matter of fact, silence is actually golden.
I mean, typically when you read the sentence in its entirety, you could almost guess what the definition is.
The definition of the word. And if you guess without doing the work behind guessing, then what you're doing is what they taught you to do in school. Which
But I
is,
guessed and I looked it up though.
that's good. But all I'm suggesting to you is a lot of our children, that's what you were asking about earlier, Pearl, on the internet, is our children. What they're doing is they're being taught in school to use, what do they call that nonsense?
Context?
Context. Context clues, I think is what they call it in school.
Yeah.
And then all they ever do is guess. They never look it up. And then they don't know how to look it up. So they don't know how to discern 7 different definitions when you look something up. They don't know how to isolate the context. And then we're taught to just use definition 1. Yes.
I don't want to get off the track that we're on, but what you just said, is that approach the same when you're trying to learn a foreign language? Is that?
When you're trying to learn a foreign language, it depends on the learner and the facilitator. The first thing with learning a foreign language, how do you pronounce the vowels? In the schools that you're relative to, didn't you take French in school? Or Spanish?
I took Spanish.
What are the vowels? What are the vowels? That's right. So now understand something. If you went to high school, you had to take at least 1 or 2 foreign languages, and they didn't teach you the vowels, then guess what? They never had any intention on teaching you the language.
That's right.
You might
Never.
not have taught the alphabet either.
So what?
You might not have taught the alphabet.
9 times out of 10 in the United States of America, they never teach the alphabet for French. They never teach the alphabet for Spanish. Now every now and then you will have one class out of 1,000 where some teacher will actually teach a group of children the alphabet in French. Yes?
Why do they teach, the numbers and not the alphabet? Because that's a great game.
Because there are those who design strategies for education for people who are not their children. All the strategies that you suffered through in high school were designed and accepted by the state, the legislature in the state of Tennessee. A bunch of white boys that don't give a damn about you. And that's what came down that had to be taught in the schools that you were going to. Now, when you're miseducated or undereducated, you don't know that that's what's happening. And you actually think these are our schools. And then later, you would actually think that you're doing a good thing when you actually have a discussion about reclaiming our schools. Only thing I want you to do is learn the vowels correctly. If you learn the vowels correctly, I guarantee you, you can speak 4 or 5 languages. You should have known the vowels. How old are you now? 20-something?
I'm 19.
20. Yeah, you should have learned the vowels 15 years ago.
He did.
and forgot them.
Paul Robeson could speak 20 different languages.
And one thing about him, Paul Robeson, one thing about him, when he couldn't speak that language, he could talk to you in such a way, like Nat King Cole and others, he could talk to you in such a way where you thought he could speak the language.
Yeah. So we did school, we did
Scholar,
pupil.
We're gonna do disciple next week.
We're gonna do disciple.
I did
So we're
disciple.
We're gonna learn. Yeah, we're gonna learn it.
Okay,
We're
well,
gonna
we
learn
got about
it. Okay.
30 minutes.
I understand. We got 25 minutes. We're gonna learn at least the first sentence.
So you mean to tell me every time we come together we only have 2 hours or a few minutes, we need to be actually involving ourselves in doing what we're doing.
We need to do what we're doing.
And what happens is because we don't truly involve ourselves in doing what we're doing, we run out of time.
Well, no, I think we involve
Okay.
ourselves too much. We could sidetrack.
Oh, is that what happens?
It's a balance. Go placidly. I'm not entertaining any more questions. Go placidly. Put your hand down, Miss Caroline.
No, I'm
Amid the noise and haste.
Be quiet, Mr. Black. Go placidly amid the noise and haste. The 2 words we're going to use are, go placidly amid the noise and haste. Everyone just close your eyes, please. Placidly means what?
Undisturbed.
Undisturbed.
Good.
Imagine yourself, visualize yourself walking, going placidly in an undisturbed manner amid the noise and haste. There's noise, there are symbols, mama, daddy, brother, sister, son, daughter, how I met you. There's stuff going on outside. The construction man is out there, and you are going placidly. Everybody got that? Go placidly amid what? Don't open your eyes. Go placidly amid what? Good. Placidly is the first word that we're going to remember. Go placidly amid the noise and haste, and remember, visualize yourself, you're walking, all of a sudden you remember something. See the light bulb, the cartoon light bulb above your head as you are going placidly. Go placidly amid what?
The noise and haste.
And remember what peace there may be in silence. Remember what?
What peace?
Peace there may be in silence.
Good. Go placidly where?
Amid the noise and haste.
And remember what?
And remember what peace there may be in silence.
Okay, open your eyes. Everybody got that? So placidly remember. This is the beginning of our sentence. Placidly remember. Right? What's the first sentence of the poem?
Without looking?
Yes.
Go placidly without...
Go placidly amid what?
Amid noise and haste, and remember something silent.
What peace
Remember
Peace in
what?
silence.
there may be.
In silence.
Good. Close your eyes again. Go placidly amid the noise and haste, and remember, put this light bulb on the top of your brain, on the top of your mind. You know, like the person. Remember, it's a light bulb, and inside of that light bulb is what peace there may be in silence.
That's right.
What peace there may be where?
In silence.
In silence. Placidly. Remember. Okay, open your eyes. Let's hear the first one.
Okay. Go placidly amid the noise and haste, and remember what peace there may be inside.
Good.
Go placidly amidst the noise and haste, and remember what peace there may be inside.
Good. 9. You couldn't look it up?
You couldn't look what up? Placidly? But you could hear the conversation that was going on about placidly, right?
What does placidly mean? Help me.
Undisturbed.
Undisturbed. What does it mean?
And the first two words in the poem are what? Go.
Undisturbed.
Go placidly.
Go plastic.
Good.
But it's good. The way you thought about it is good. You say go undisturbed. There's no problem because now you're putting it in other words. Once you can learn something in other words, you can definitely learn what it is in the way that it's written.
Placidly remember. Brother.
Go placidly among the noise and
Among or amid?
amid the noise and freight.
I'm
It's
waiting.
about for that to go.
Placidly remember.
Go placidly and.
Are you looking up there?
Well, I tried. I ain't learned a little while back, but anyway.
Okay.
Go placidly amid the noise and haste,
Uh-huh.
and remember what peace there may be in silence.
Good.
Go placidly amid the noise and haste,
Mm-hmm.
and remember what peace there may be in silence.
Good.
Go placidly amid the noise and haste. That's all.
Okay. Placidly remember. Light bulb. And remember what peace? No. Someone help me.
There may be.
There may be in silence.
There may be in silence. The first two words of your sentence are placidly remember. That's all you have to remember. When you think of the word placidly, what phrase should come up in the mind?
Understood.
That's what word placidly means. But
Go
what phrase comes?
placidly amid the noise and haste.
Good.
Right.
Placidly is the way that you hold the whole phrase.
And
you
most
don't
of
have-
us, when we were growing up, we were never taught strategy.
You don't have to remember go placidly amid the noise and haste. You just remember placidly.
That's
because
right.
the brain has already chunked that whole thing together
That's right.
with placidly because you visualized it. Okay? So you don't have to remember go placidly amid the noise and haste. You just have to remember what?
Go
Placid.
placid.
Placidly. That's all you have to remember. Placidly. Now, you don't have to remember and remember what peace there may be in silence. You don't have to remember all that and remember what peace there may be in silence.
Just remember the light bulbs.
Just remember.
Did you do this when you learned the Raven?
I just learned the Raven just because I looked up every single word and I understood it.
So that was your strategy.
That was my strategy, yeah.
And are you suggesting that most of us cannot learn the Raven from start to finish because we're actually too lazy to do what you did?
I'm suggesting there are a number of different causes and conditions, one of which may be our lack of motivation.
Very well stated, Mrs.
Really accurate.
I should interject to what you just said with the placidly, like the picture for that word containing like the rest of that,
Yes.
part of the sentence.
Yes.
You actually just explained something that it connects to what you were saying about getting stuck. But when I was learning some Chinese characters and I was trying to picture too much as opposed to just.
When you were learning some Chinese characters, what were you learning, the alphabet?
No, it's just like trying to learn the meaning and the sound and the tone, like for.
Aren't the Japanese characters written from Chinese characters? So the Japanese characters that's written with Chinese characters, what do you call that?
They're called kanji. It's a simplified
Kanji.
Chinese script, yeah.
Kanji. Now we are taught that in school, right?
No.
Then how did she learn that?
Probably use some strategies.
So she had to learn how to teach herself. So again, we're having some problems because what we want to do is rely on everything that was taught to us rather than start dealing with what we can learn how to teach ourselves. And we have to learn these strategies in order to teach ourselves. And for some reason, we don't want to do it. Go ahead.
Okay. Let me just check in with you guys. Raise your hand if if your brain is like super tired. If you just can't do anymore. Go ahead, it's okay. All right, so your brain isn't that tired? No? Okay. All right, wonderful. Go placidly amid the noise and haste and remember what?
What peace there is
There
in
is in silence.
What peace there may be in silence. This is what your light bulb holds. What peace there may be in silence. If you want to, you can put a picture in the light bulb. Something that's peaceful to you. Something that makes you feel peaceful. Like me, I always feel peaceful when I'm in the bed. So I put a bed inside my light bulb to help me remember what peace there may be in silence. Right? So, what are the 2 words that are beginning our sentence?
Placidly remember.
Remember.
Good.
Okay. One more line, and then we can all go home and teach ourselves at least the first stanza, right?
Yes.
At least the first stanza.
Marcus, didn't you say you taught yourself Desiderata?
I thought the whole thing. I was out teaching those children at the daycare.
But you taught the children at the daycare what, the first stanza?
Pretty much.
Well, don't look up there and read anything. Tell it to us.
Let's see. Go placidly amid the noise and haste, and remember what peace there may be in silence. As far as possible, without surrender, be on good terms with all persons. Gotta look.
So now you gotta look.
Yeah. This comes from not practicing.
But now you say you got some children at a daycare center interested in learning this, right?
Okay.
Now the school says they can't get the children to remember, learn, practice. How did you get them to do it?
You gotta keep doing it every day, and you have to talk to them in such a way that you got to convince them that this may be beneficial to them.
And you have to do that with yourself too. When you don't feel like doing anything, you just have to convince yourself this is worth doing. Remember, you're not going to see anything right away. It's not like tomorrow you're going to wake up and just like be Einstein. You know, it's difficult. You have to work. We've been at this for over half an hour, and we've done 2 lines. But that's also because many of us are not very well practiced.
And many of us keep telling ourselves what we can't do.
The more you practice, the better you become. I can create a mnemonic now. I could learn this whole thing if I wanted to in the next 10 minutes. No joke.
We got 10 minutes left.
But I want to do something else in the last 10 minutes because this is all of our time. And I don't say that to brag. I say that to demonstrate that in the beginning, it's really difficult because you don't know what you're doing. But we don't know what we're doing in the beginning. But if we give ourselves some time, if we just keep at it, we learn how to do it. And it becomes very easy. And then we can look at what we want to learn, think about it for a minute, come up with a device, learn the device, and we got it. So don't be discouraged. It seems like it's a lot of work now, and it is, but we're learning. We're learning how to do it. And in a few short weeks, if we just do this, create a mnemonic for Desiderata. If we just work on that, in a few short weeks, we will be able to learn any poem, any piece of prose, easily. Okay? Now, we're going to stop there, and we can just check in for last minute questions, comments, and then maybe...
I just got a question about that. Without surrender.
Without surrender.
I mean, what does that, I don't know what that means.
As far as possible, without surrender. Be on good terms with all persons.
In other words, the average bully that comes around you talking all crazy, you don't have to actually surrender your presence or your peace to them.
You may not be able to be on good terms with all persons. Some persons may want you to just, some persons may want you to be their own personal footstool. That's the only way you can be on a good terms with them.
So does it mean like without surrendering your silence and your peacefulness?
No, without surrendering your livelihood, your person, yourself, your safety. Without surrendering that. If I come up to you and I say...
In other words, I try to do this without having to say...
no.
That's right.
Leave me...
Yeah. Right. But if you have to say that, then go ahead and say it.
Right.
Okay, we got 10 minutes, so we will just... Everyone just say one thing you learned today or one thing that's stuck out that you remember. And then we'll close. We'll start in the back.
I learned that we can do it, and you have to take the time to do it.
Good.
Yeah, I know for certain that you got to keep practicing.
Good.
The poem stood out to me personally because it was one of my mother's favorites, and I haven't seen it in years.
Wonderful.
A question for Dr. Black of the word esclave.
Slave.
Slave. Is that
It's
Spanish?
the Latin.
Latin.
Yeah.
Esclave.
And as you start tracing the word back,
Right.
you see when the word finally comes into what you call English, the word Slav, not slave. Slave is a misnomer based on a mispronunciation because these people could not say ah.
Right.
And they actually spoke with the Germanic and they said a. And so it came out slave.
Gotcha.
Negroes who do not have the tenacity to actually study the language, they actually repeated the way it was given to them, slave, rather than doing what Farmer's father and others bothered to do when they looked up Slav to find the word. What is it?
So that just reminded me of, I think I mentioned Schwarzenegger to you before.
Uh-huh.
And I saw something where he said his name meant, I'm just
Black
saying,
Plowman.
yeah, Black Plowman or something.
And understand, black is Schwartz.
Yeah.
And nigger, you know, have you ever looked at Montenegro?
The country? Or?
No, Montenegro, the country, but most times when they're talking about Montenegro, they're talking about a mountain.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And so what is that?
Black Mountain?
Black Mountain. So in this country, you know, I was grown before I finally realized that I'm watching the movie, and the movie's named Casablanca, and it dawned on me what I've been looking at all my life and I never saw. You know what?
White House.
White House. And so I was grown when I finally realized I'd been seeing this word all my life. And it's actually White House. And then it made me go look up White House. Has the White House always been called the White House?
No.
Has the White House always been called the White House?
No.
I had a couple of people. What was it called?
And I don't remember.
Oh, okay.
Executive Mansion.
Executive Mansion. That's exactly what it was called.
And they still have the old executive mansion.
It's still there. But the White House became the White House when and how? How did it become the White House? And what was going on in Congress that caused it to become the White House? And how many brothers actually died and went to prison because they were going to fight this whole thought that there was going to be the White House? Where did those brothers come from? The brother came from Puerto Rico.
Did they have something to do with Teddy Roosevelt and the Roadrunners?
No, that's later. That's something else. But the brother came from Puerto Rico. What was his name? So you know this is strange. We don't know anybody relative to us that came from Puerto Rico. And here's the funny thing. Most of the people from Puerto Rico, they have African traditions. They have food that actually can be dated from the continent. They have music and thoughts, but Negroes here don't have any of that. Why is it we don't know any of the brothers that came from Puerto Rico that actually became, in black history, black Americans?
Well, I have a different perspective on that, but
All right, what's the
I grew
perspective?
up watching, like even on Sesame Street, the one that played Maria, her parents were from Puerto Rico. The one with the afro, that, just retired. And like Roberto Clemente, like my dad would always talk about him.
So you know Schoenberg, right?
I know of him.
Where do you know of Schoenberg from?
I know there was a museum.
A museum where?
In New York.
In Harlem. And his name is what? Arthur Schoenberg. Arturo Schoenberg. Born in Puerto Rico. But he actually is a person that looked like y'all. And he was suggested, he was called the Sherlock Holmes of black history. And he suggested that this history that he found should be included in the curriculum in the schools in America. But no one would listen to him. And we won't bother to go and do the work to research these people. Now, and I know you know Schoenberg, right? Did you find out something about J.E. Rogers?